This is MTG Nexus coming at you with a little bit of something different on tonight's stream / recording for YouTube. We're playing some Temur Reclamation in Pioneer. It's been a minute since I've kind of delved into the Pioneer format. Haven't done a lot about with it since the bannings. I think I did a Boros burn video, and I've done a few daily quick hits over on the YouTube channel about different decks that have popped up. One of the ones that has inevitably popped up is Temur Reclamation, which was a deck obviously in both Standard and Historic that has gotten banned out of existence. So the next best place to play it is in Pioneer. This Reclamation decks have also started popping up on some of the Uro piles in Modern as well. So obviously this deck has a huge amount of pedigree and is a very powerful combo deck. As far as its position in the Pioneer format, that's the part where I'm interested in finding out by playing a little bit with it tonight. The things I will say about it is this is probably not the optimal list. I'll be honest, the main reason I picked this version is it had 2 Nimbus Perun in the sideboard. This is an X-Whale list, so it's pretty well vetted most likely, but it's not playing things like Brazen Borrower to bounce Teferi Time Raveler, which could be problematic in the main deck, because otherwise you don't really have a whole lot of ways to deal with a resolved Teferi, other than maybe an Expansion Explosion. But as far as what the deck's trying to do, you're trying to ramp into Wilderness Reclamation and ideally cast a large Expansion Explosion, or Shark Typhoon, or cast Shark Typhoon, make a bunch of large sharks, win the game. You also have access to Uro, so a lot of stuff going on there. Beyond that, you're playing a 3-color mana base, including the Triomes, so your mana should be pretty decent. You have Castle Vantress to kind of tie it all together, along with Blast Zone, which is another out to Teferi Time Raveler. Your interaction in the early game is things like Censors and Izzet Charms. Beyond that, you're running Mystical Disputes, as it seems to be well positioned in the format, given the decks that are at the top end of things. According to Goldfish, the top decks in the current format are Mono-Green Planeswalkers, the Wilderness Wreck deck that we're playing, Niftalite, Jund Sacrifice, Spirits, and Luca. So lots of decks where a even 3-mana leak is pretty good, and in a lot of those matchups, especially Spirits, the Mirror, and some Niftalite cards, your Mystical Dispute is a 1-mana leak, which is pretty good. And then beyond that, you have some Anger of the Gods to kind of tie the creature decks together, because that is one of the things that can happen, at least it was with the old Wilderness Wreck decks in both Standard and in Historic, is they were a little bit vulnerable to decks going underneath them before they could get set up with their combo. Obviously, Uro helps tremendously in that regard as well, but this deck doesn't tend to put a ton of cards in the graveyard, especially without fetch lands being in the Pioneer format. So you have to have other early defense besides Uro itself, and then Shark Typhoons and Dig Through Times holding it all together in the top of your Expansions Explosions. Sideboard is a mix of cards. Once again, Nimbus Perun. This is a card that I kind of had an unhealthy obsession with in its early Standard days. It was a card that I was building around in my local game store when I was still able to go and play Standard. It's quite a fun card, although, with the printing of Teferi Time Raveler, it got significantly worse. Elder Gargaroth, this is obviously primarily for the controlled mid-range decks, because you start casting spells with this in your hand, or this in play, and it gets real ugly real quickly. 2 copies of Elder Gargaroth. This card is pretty good against any type of aggressive deck. You get to turn 4, turn 5, slam this, and if they can't answer it right away, it generally takes over the game. Magma Spray helps slow down the aggressive decks. Once again, as I mentioned, that is a problem for the various versions of Wilderness Wreck, as decks that can go under them. Star of Extinction is an interesting one. This is a really, really late game sweeper to deal with a bunch of Planeswalkers and such. Pretty good against, I guess, Niv and such, although that deck doesn't play a ton of permanents. Pretty good against any type of other mid-range deck you're playing against. 3 copies of Aether Gust, pretty good against any type of, obviously, green or red decks. So, the Mirror Match, Burn, Niv, etc. 3 copies of Negate when you need some counter spells for any type of control mirror, and then 1 copy of Narset Parter Veils. This card's pretty good in a lot of different spots, but not necessarily you want to play something in your main deck. as you're not well set up to defend against creature rushes and defend early planeswalkers. So this is more of a value card against other mid-range control decks, as you know, the format's obviously kind of gone away from format has gone away from combo, although there are still combo decks. You know, the Wilderness Rect we're playing tonight is a bit of a combo deck. The Naya Winota deck is still around. So, let's see how this goes. Match number 1, we're on play. This one seems decent enough. We don't really have any payoffs or anything, but I think we have enough disruption, and with the temple to help us find action, I think this hand's well enough, especially in the dark. Sensor on the play, obviously, much better than on the draw. And we can cycle it should we need more action. We can bottom blast zone. We're really looking for a Wilderness Rack, an Uro, something to kind of tie us all together right now. Okay. Blood Crypt doesn't really tell me much. Go ahead and shock this in. Is a kind of obvious what we're playing at this point, but I want to have the option to censor whatever their play is here. Do I even care about Priest here? I don't think so. So we're up against the Sacrifice deck. Another censor here is quite nice. Kind of awkward though, right? Do this, and I guess we fetch an island with this, so we have all of our mana setups requirement setups. This might be risky. It's possible that I'm supposed to counter this actually, but I think we're just going to untap an Anger. So they get to make 3 mana, but they can't play use an Anger of the Gods, cash in here. I guess they could Collected Company. Get to draw a card, so this is effectively a 1-for-1-ish. There's not really much they can do with their mana here, so play that tapped. Strider, sure. Fortunately that we didn't hit another mana here, but card on bottom. Sure. The forest, so we can grow spiral here. I think we just anger plus arrow here. Opponent gets to ping us for a couple, scry a little bit. Let's go Uro. Most of these versions don't play claim like the standard and historic versions do, so they're not quite as likely to be able to deal with this Uro, especially without a board presence. Their primary way of dealing with it is Priest of Forgotten Gods, and just concedes. Alright, so we are up against a deck that is a lot of green creatures, a lot of collected companies. So I probably want the gusts and the... Actually, do I want the gusts? Because a lot of their payoffs are actually black cards. The gusts are a maybe. We probably want the magma sprays. And then... Don't know that we want to go the Elder Gargaroth route. Maybe we shave like a sensor. Try like that. Once again, could bring in the gusts to fight it, but we don't know that they're on the Coco version necessarily. And most of their payoffs are actually black cards. So Gust is good against like stopping their mana dorks and like some of their lower end nonsense. But it doesn't stop Catacomb Sifter because Catacomb Sifter is devoid, therefore it's colorless. So Ether Gust can't hit it. So it really only hits Collected Company and their mana dorks, and I don't think that's necessarily worth it. And oh boy, do we have a hand here. Magma Spray into Sensor, but we're like playing a turn behind. Could be a little rough, especially considering the number of dorks they usually run. Still think we keep it. Seems interesting. So we can at least have an untapped land next turn if we want one. Castle Ventress works quite nicely with these triumphs. Sure. We'll just go ahead and censor that. Gonna main phase this growth spiral, put this thing in, and go ahead and magma spray the priest. Like, the mana dork's annoying, but you know, if they're playing something a turn early, it's kind of whatever. Like, without the priest in play, they can't play a Bolus of Citadel this turn, and that's like the primary card we're afraid of. Like, Collected Company is annoying, don't get me wrong, but 2, 3, 4, 5. Curious if we're supposed to play Uro next turn. Main phase Coco? No, main phase Coco. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Taking 2, 4, 5, 6 next turn. Not the most ideal situations, but with Dig and Is It Charm, we should be in reasonable shape this turn. Unless they specifically have land drop plus Bolus of Citadel. Right now, Is It Charm can counter Bolus of Citadel. Curious if our opponent takes this opportunity to Coco or not. This is a really bad Alright, we could use the other Wilderness Rock here, but I think we're more interested in finding interaction plus cantrips. Let's possible. I'm supposed to take the second wreck there. Was dumb. I should not have done this main phase. Mainly because it opens the door for them to Coco us. Not that we could counter their collected company with our current set of cards anyway. This is resolving regardless. Cards in our hand just aren't good. We're pretty much dead here regardless of what we do. Minimum we're going to 15. These sack where they can ping us for 4. Left a card on top, that's kind of terrifying. Drop to 11 here, we're taking 7. Yeah, we're just dead here. Hit us for 7, then sack 3 creatures. Probably bring the third sensor back in on the play. His charms don't seem especially good here. Neither did the disputes, but they are at least better on the play. Again, I think our key card is Anger of the Gods here. I think Star of Extinction is just too expensive for what they're trying to do with their deck. This hand's fine-ish. Censor and the Dispute on the play is pretty reasonable. Even if they have an elf, we can counter most of their relevant plays onto. Question is, am I supposed to play the Triumph on one, or am I supposed to play Steam Vents? I feel like I'm supposed to play Steam Vents here. Because we might want to cycle the Triumph to get more gas going, because we might end up using Censor as a... oh, so just have a discard spell. Yep. I'm supposed to cycle this here, continue to try to hit the gas. Let's hold up our bad mana leak that they know about, and potentially cycling a Triumph if they choose not to play into it. Let's go ahead and take the opportunity to kill one of those. What did I get here? Here's comes Collected Company that we suspect they had. It's pretty clear the main card in this matchup is Anger of the Gods. Yep, so we can really do it. I mean, I guess we could cycle Triumph and hope to hit an Izzet Charm or a Censor here. So maybe this was foolish to pass priority. Yeah, definitely foolish to pass priority there. Sure, because why not, right? So on a scale of 1 to dead, how dead are we right now? Attack for 6, 7... and ping us to death, I think? Just think they main phase kill us here. Yeah, 4 triggers puts us to 8. And to 6. I just sack us to death there. This is the one matchup that I'm like, wasn't quite sure what hands I should be keeping. Of course, Anger of the Gods is the next card. How is everyone doing tonight? Hope everybody's having a good evening. And those of you watching on YouTube later, hope you're enjoying me kind of fumble my way through learning Temur Rec in so part of me wonders, so watching that particular matchup, like part of me wonders, did Reclamation itself actually have to go in Historic? Like, Feel the Dead obviously ended up getting banned, and I do think that was a card that was also pushing the Temur Rec decks in Historic to be potentially too powerful, was even if you could interact with the Reclamation part of the combo, you were just kind of this hand's a little awkward. We have no green mana, but I do think it's fine enough, especially if we're up an aggressive deck. We have Anger of the Gods and such with a Scryland, try to hit a green source. We have to bottom that one. As much as I would love to find a Reclamation, we don't have the green mana for it right now anyway, so I think we just gotta let it go. Okay, so Watergrave doesn't tell me a whole lot right now. Shock this in, be able to hold up Dispute, and is it Charm this turn cycle? man. Sure. Thoughtseize, but no follow-up. Okay. Oh, jeez. Narset would be really bad. Yep. There's Narset. And they whiffed. Nice. I did make a small mistake last turn. I should have charged this a little bit in anticipation of a scry and multiple draw steps, and we can't find a green source. I think green source is his deck running. Dig through time, sure. So we can stop that. Yep. Four, 5, 11, 13, 16. I think 16 green sources. Alright, there's our green source. Hopefully I don't have another Narset. There's the dig through time. Yep. They whiff again? Problem is we keep having to blow up our own lands in order to Get these Narsets off the board. And they could get multiple turns here from Teferi here soon. Probably taking Shark Typhoon here. So it just feels like this is basically just go ahead and skip to that. I really don't map on seeing additional cards. So we're basically up against, I guess, the spiritual successor to Inverter, or a variant of it. Fingers can probably come out. Probably a match we want Niv Mizzets in. Probably want the negates. Probably want Narset. Try to shave on the combo a little bit, maybe. I think against the Thoughtseize deck, you really just don't want to go down too far anyway. At least we have all of our colors and mana this game, so color screw won't be an issue. Probably a card I'm interested in. Don't know that it's particularly good in this matchup, but it's a card I'm interested in. Depends on how many kill spells they leave in, right? And how many can actually kill this particular card. Collective Brutality. Yeah, it's a thing. Sensor's not terrible, but it's not great either. Ash, yeah, sure. They have a kill spell, they have a kill spell. It's kind of annoying, but not much we can do about it, really. Ether Gust's like one card that makes that card significantly worse. Sure. You can go ahead and pack it in now. I think that's one of the historic issues with some of these reclamation decks is once certain things resolve, you're just kind of, especially like planeswalkers and such, they don't historically have a lot of ways to deal with them. You know, outside of getting ahead on board with things like Uro or, you know, expansion explosioning them off the board. And, you know, maybe that was an error in the game plan of the hand I kept, was being so dependent upon Niv there that them neutralizing it with Gust plus 3-mana Ashiok just really kind of, you know. Like, I really love Niv Mizzet, and it's a card that I really, really, really want to be good in formats like Historic and Pioneer. But it's just like, you know, the uncounterability of it is nice, but when people are packing, you know, multiple copies of Ether Gust and such, it's just really kind of hard to rely on that as a win con. And once again, as I said at the top of the broadcast, I kind of picked this list specifically because it had Niv Mizzet in it. So, you know, I probably said it wasn't the most against a Yurion deck. Sure, I guess this hand's fine. Especially being on the play. I don't think there's anything we're going to want to counter with Izzet Charm here, but it doesn't hurt to hold up the mana, especially in what's looking like to be a blue-white X matchup. Hopefully they're not on black and have a bunch of discard spells. I feel much better against our situation where we can sit back on counter spells and kind of play a cat and mouse game than against a deck full of Thought Erasure, Thought Seize, backed up by other soft counter spells. a sec. So maybe Luca? I don't think we care about birth. Like, we care, if this is Luca, we care more about their planeswalkers. If they are missing land drops, then yeah, this... No, looks like they weren't missing land drops anyway, so... No, we just get to jam Wilderness Ruck here and hold up our counter spells. Yeah, the wall is kind of not relevant against anything except for Luca itself. And this does look like we are up against Luca. I think we use it as a charm here because that has the quickest diminishing results here. Especially if they're trying to play whatchamacallit back. One, two, three, four, five. So 10 mana total. So I can like expansion for 3 here and still keep up Mystical Dispute for like fires. I think I'm cool with that. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Now we get to have some fun. Sure, Typhoon, sure, whatever. Don't particularly care. I don't think you're getting through two Mystical Disputes in any type of fashion that matters. It's looking really awkward here. Awkward that we can't hold up Is It Charm with this situation, but I think we're going to go and keep Castle Vantress here since our hand is kind of relatively weak here. Didn't get much better. Three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're legitimately what, 1 point away from killing them here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, actually, that is the 5th damage, correct? Got there with Exacxies, nice. So they have access to Duelin's, Mitas, and Mystical Disputes. We have access to Negates. That's another new Mizzet matchup potentially. Without the Angers. Shoot an Uro. like that. Feels like this is the matchup that we have to like steal game one in order to have a chance to win. Yeah, hand seems fine. Show the opponent mulliganing to 5. I don't believe so, Ando. I deliberately chose this version because it had Niv, but I don't think it's actually particularly good. I just happen to love the card. He's cool, but like, so for instance, I brought him in against Temur Control last round, and then just got like blown out by Ether Gust. Like, for lack of a better term, we just died to Ether Gust. At least bluff like we have Mystical Dispute, even though we don't. At least they can't land fires here, which is nice. Our set's annoying. Very annoying, actually. See, like, this is an example of where, like, Nim Visit probably isn't particularly good, but he's uncounterable, you know? Sure. Our opponent's got a Typhoon in hand. They have a Mystical Dispute in hand, sure. How have you been, Ando? Good play. Distance and cycling here. We have obviously can't draw another card this turn because of Narset, so. Shark Typhoon for 3. Sure. Yeah, I've only gotten to play a little bit. I've been playing some of the company-less Bolus Citadel decks. I've been liking them quite nicely. Seems like every time I find a deck in Historic, it either gets banned or it just gets worse. Like the first Historic season, I really liked Black-White Vampires, but it's just become kind of a terrible deck since then. So we could Uro here, but do we really want to? Yeah, I think we don't have anything else going on. May as well. Like, obviously, we don't get a draw with Narset here, but, you know. And if they tap out for, like, an Elspeth Conqueror's Death, or, you know, want to use a Mystical Dispute here, I think I'm cool with that. I don't think they went overboard, but I don't know that I liked some of what they've been doing. Like, I honestly think Field, while it was kind of annoying, was a deck that could exist in that format. But I guess they don't want their format to just become literally all Feel the Dead for the PT coming up. So I understand the position they took, but everybody was just like, try to lower this, see. Opponent didn't even attack? Okay, I'm very confused. I mean, I understand they really want to protect their Narset, but, like, you have Castle Ardenvale. I mean, you have a lot going on here. I don't know. Like, they can literally only activate Castle Ardenvale. I don't understand why they held back the Shark, too. That just, like, seemed almost a complete waste. Chain to the Rocks. Sure. Yes, I do understand that I'm not getting the card draw off this. I'm just doing this to get it in my graveyard, honestly. Their mana situation is really awkward this game. Yeah, you can't do that. Don't have the mana to activate it, friendo. So what have you been playing in Historic, Endo? You've been playing best of 1 or best of 3? Really would love to find like a Castle Ardenvale or something. I guess that's an or something. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Blue. Blue. Eesh. Our mana situation isn't particularly great for this either, but at least we have a Mystical Dispute up, right? They have Ether Gust, they have Ether Gust. I don't think they do, though. How is Goblins in best of 3, by the way? That's something I'm legitimately curious about. Like, I know their build-up is this really powerful thing in best of 1. I've actually been playing more best of 1 lately than I have best of 3. But this is one of those, like, games where, like, if they don't have a Wrath right here, specifically Verdict, we might just take over the game. Like, this is one of those games where if they had Teferi would be much more devastating to us than Narset is. Like, Narset has been making our... Do you play the straight red, or do you play the small black splash for the disruption? Another Narset. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where... Gotcha. That was interesting. Definitely the power of Niv there. These are the kind of games where I like Niv. Just like slam him. Okay, you didn't get to answer him. Kind of clean house here. So, to be fair, the Luca deck is probably a good matchup for what Team Eureka is doing. Like, I know when they kind of went head-to-head in the standard format. I think Luca was a little bit of a dog against Rec, but was getting... The Rec decks were getting destroyed by the aggro decks, so it was kind of like the Reclamation decks were getting pushed out by the like cycling decks and such. Huh. Not sure how I feel about this yet. Hmm. Not sure how I feel about this. So, like, we're 3 matches in so far. We've played against Sack, Jun Sack, Temur Control, which I think is basically Temur inverterless inverter, and then against Jeskai Luca. Luca felt like a pretty good matchup. I think the Sack matchup was pretty much Anger of the Gods or bust, or setting up a fast combo, and we did neither in game 2 or game 3. And then, like, inverter, like, just all the hand disruption plus a bunch of permanents we don't want to see is just kind of a rough recipe. Like, discard spell and a discard spell and a Narset is just really rough. And then game 2, we tried to slam a Niv when they were kind of floundering a little bit, and then just kind of like, kind of did some stuff there. And then obviously the Luca matchup felt pretty good. I know the league isn't done, but I do have something that came up that I need to deal with. So I want to thank everybody who stopped by the stream tonight. I'm trying to nail down when I can stream some more again. Just kind of life's taken a rough turn here the last couple weeks, so I've been a little bit off the streaming schedule. But I'm trying to get back in the habit of it. I might be back later tonight. I don't know. Thanks, Ando. Once again, I appreciate the support, man. You know, both viewing and the sub. So, all right. We'll talk to everyone later. This has been John for MTG Nexus.